Hello! Now that you've configured LT Auditor Plus Syslog Server, you'll be able to set up the rules. In this video tutorial, we will go over adding a device and creating an operation with key-value-based parsing. Prior to adding a new device for creating rules, first get that device to send messages to the LT Auditor Plus Syslog Server. Viewing the target event log will confirm that messages are being received. Note, however, if messages from multiple devices are being received, use the option Log Messages with Custom Event IDs based on content to log only messages based on the IP address of the new device. Once this has been configured, clear the target event log and generate new syslog messages from the device. The target event log will now be populated with new messages from this new device, providing a dataset that can be used to create new rules. Now we can add a new device. First, go over into the Rules tab into the Devices area and click Add. You need to add the name of the device, which is the model that will be sending syslog messages. We're adding a Cisco device. Next up is the IP address. This is the IP address of all addresses of all devices of the same model that will be sending messages to the LT Auditor Plus Syslog server. Multiple IP addresses then can be entered separated with a comma. We're going to be using only one IP address, and that being the local machine, so we're going to be entering an asterisk in this field. Next is the operation category. This field defines the category for all operations that will be created to enable parsing of messages from this device. This is required for reporting in LT Auditor Plus. Our operation category for parsing is also Cisco. Next is the default event ID. This is the default event ID used by LT Auditor Plus Syslog Server to log data to the syslog auditing event log. When you check and enter a number, is the number that will be the event ID associated with all events from this device, unless you specify it in an operation. So if we enter 49,000, then the device will have default event IDs for 49,000, unless you specified an operation. That operation will then have the ID of 49,001. So now that we have our information, we can get data from this device. And we're going to be scrolling down and going to our login success and double-clicking that. We need to get rid of any excess data at the beginning, and that 189.2017 is unnecessary. That is 11 characters we do not need, and that we need to be cut off, so we need to go to our offset and enter 11. Everything seems to be space separated here, so we're going to enter space as our delimiter, and we can parse our message. We can find our process name, and we're going to be using position-based parsing for this. So just drag and drop your process name, and drag and drop the start of your message, which is this login success. These aren't completely necessary with key-value-based parsing, as the key-value detection is not affected by where you start your message. Date and time, if left unchecked, will simply give the date and time of the local machine receiving messages. Hostname, if left unchecked, will simply default to the IP address that is sending messages. Process name, if left unchecked, will be left blank, and if message is left unchecked, nothing will happen in key value or JSON token-based parsing, but it is necessary for positional-based parsing. So we're just going to select OK. We have our new device created. You can see the enabled fields and their positions or key values, etc. Now that we have our device, we can select it and go to Operations and hit Add. Before you enter any of the information, you should get data to have a data set for your operation. So we're going to be using this login success once again. We're going to call this operation login success for simplicity. The search to identify this operation will be this %sec login string. If you have any other way to identify your operation, please add it to the additional search to identify operations so you can specify better. Now is where we're going to be employing our key value based parsing. So we're going to enter a closed bracket as our delimiter. The reason we're doing this is, as you can see, we have this user colon jbaker and source colon and our IP address. If we were to use a space as our delimiter once again, we would have to apply regular expression to these jbaker and IP address. Instead, however, if we use key-value-based parsing, we have our user and our source separated already. And when we use key-value-based parsing, we're going to enter this string before with the colon. So user and source. Keep in mind that these are case sensitive, and make sure to change your drop-down menus to key value. The reason we have this closed bracket as our delimiter is because this tells Syslog Server where your value ends. It tells you that after the user colon, it needs to scan everything until it hits that closed bracket. Now that we have our information, we can select OK. And when we select our device, we have our operation. We need to make sure that this is working with our event log, so we're going to generate some dummy event data and open up our event log and refresh it. As you can see, we have our events 49,001, login success with the user and the IP address isolated. We can close this and now move on to getting it to work with LT Auditor Plus consoles. Open up your LT Auditor Plus management console, and we're going to quickly add this operation to give you a model of how to add it. So go to Options, Syslog Rule, Master Settings, and Operation within LT Auditor Plus Management Console. And as you can see, we already have our event that we created in here. It includes its event ID, the name you gave it, and the operation category from Syslog Server. Make sure you enter it in this way. Now that we can have our operation added, we can go into our domain, manager, audit subsystems, and Syslog device auditing to create a filter statement. We're going to call this filter statement Cisco, and we need to select which operations we want to include. We're going to drop down our Cisco category and find our login success. We only want to include this, so we're going to select OK, and we have our filter statement. Now we can get this to work with LT Auditor Plus Reporting Console. So go into LT Auditor Plus for Syslog devices, Syslog device auditing, and we're going to create a new report category which we'll call Cisco. Within this report category, we're going to right-click once again and create a new report query that we will call Login Successes. We're only looking for the login success operation, so we're going to deselect all operations, go to our Cisco once again, and include this specific login success. When we select OK, we can generate some dummy data, and then we need to wait for the roll-up. When this new data has been put into this backup roll-up folder for our local machine, we know that we can open the report for it. It has been added, so we can generate the report for our login successes. However, this is a little messy, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into our advanced settings, output, and change our report file type into this SLA Linux login summary, and generate our report once again. As you can see, this is much nicer to look at. We have our date and time, our user, the IP address from which they logged in, the operation that they did, and the host that was logged into. This is a very easy to understand report for logins and logouts. Now, thank you for watching the tutorial. You can find more information about LT Auditor Plus Syslog Server, LT Auditor Plus Management Console, and LT Auditor Plus Reporting Console on bluelance.com. Thank you.